Hey guys, so this first video is going to be the first 10 problems on our review sheet. So I'm just going to go through and explain these. All right, so number one, we have absolute value. So our goal is that we want to get the absolute value all by itself. So I'm trying to get this all by itself first. So I'm going to first subtract 7 from both sides. So this stays 7x minus 8. And then 55 minus 7 gives me 48. Now that I have absolute value by itself, I can split. And so this becomes 7x minus 8 equals 48, exactly what's written above. And then this one becomes 7x minus 8 equals negative 48. And now we're just going to solve both of these like you normally would. So the upside down t. And so this is 56 divided by 7. And we get x equals 8. So there's one of our two answers. And then plus 8 plus 8. So we get 7x equals negative 40. And then divide by 7. Now, this does not divide evenly. So we're just going to leave it as negative 40 over 7. I can't simplify that. More than likely, when you have absolute value, one of your answers is going to be a fraction. Not all the time, but a lot of times that does happen. So those are your two answers for the first problem. Question 2, same thing. Want to get absolute value by itself. So first we need to get rid of this minus 3. So I'm going to add 3 to both sides. So we have 8. Absolute value of 2m minus 5 equals 24. And then this is being multiplied, so we need to get rid of that by dividing. So now I have absolute value of 2m minus 5 equals 3. And now once I have absolute value by itself, I'm going to split into two equations. So 2m minus 5 equals positive 3, and 2m minus 5 equals negative 3. Again, it's upside down t. You're just going to go through and you're going to solve like you would a normal equation. So m equals 4. And then over here, I get 2m equals 2. So m equals 1. So we have m equals 4 and m equals 1. Now you can see neither one of these are fractions, but that can happen like it did in number 1. All right, number 3, just looking at a basic equation. So start with distributive property. So negative times a negative is going to be a positive 10r. And then negative 5 times negative 2 is a positive 10. Now, again, upside down t, what you guys learned with Mr. Lakins. So subtract 10 from both sides. 10r equals 80. And divide, so r equals 8. Pretty simple. All right, number 4, same thing. We got some more distributive property. Just remember that you're distributing a negative 7. So 3, this negative 7 times b is negative 7b. And then negative 7 times negative 7 is going to give us a positive 49. And then over here again, it's a negative 4 we're distributing. So negative 12 minus 12b. That should be a 12. Sorry about that. All right, so now I'm going to go and look on either side of the equal sign, and I'm going to simplify what I can. So I have a 3 and a 49, so that becomes 52. And then on this side, I have a negative 6 and a negative 12, and that becomes negative 18. Now I can go through and solve. And at this point, you can have you can do 4 different things. You can either move this, you can move the 7b, the negative 18, or the negative 12b. It doesn't really matter. I like to try to avoid negatives if I can. Sometimes you can't avoid it. So I'm going to start with adding 18 to both sides. All right, I just saw a mistake. This 52 should be a 53. Sorry about that, guys. So 53. So if I add 18 to both sides, I'm going to get, this is going to be 71 minus 7b equals negative 12b. I'm going to add 7b to both sides. And I get 71 equals negative 5b. And then we're going to divide by negative 5. and I get that b equals 71 over 5, and this is negative. And if we simplified that into a decimal, it's 14.2. Either one of those would be acceptable answers. On the exam, I'll be more clear as to what form I want. All right, number 5, we now have an inequality. You can see here, it doesn't change anything. Pretty much it acts like an equal sign. The only thing you have to remember is if you divide by a negative or multiply by a negative, you got to flip the sign. So again, start with distributive property. So negative 6 plus 12v is less than or equal to negative 10 plus 8v. Now I want to get the v's. I want to get those together on one side, so I'm going to subtract 8v from both sides. So negative 6 plus 4v is less than or equal to negative 10. And then I'll add 6 to both sides. So 4v is less than or equal to negative 4. Divide by 4 and get v is less than or equal to negative 1. All right, so if you see this, you can tell that I don't flip the sign because I divided by a positive. Even though this top was a negative, I divided by a positive, so therefore you don't flip the sign. All right, number 6, same sort of thing. We just got more distributive property that you got to make sure you do. So 6n plus 6 plus 24n is less than or equal to 42n plus 42. On this first side, I want to simplify, so I have 6n and 24n. So that gives me 30n plus 6. And then I'm going to get my n's together. So now I have 6 is less than or equal to 12n plus 42. We're going to subtract 42 from both sides. So 6 minus 42 is going to give me negative 36. And then divide by 12. Again, I did not, I'm not going to flip the sign because I'm not dividing by a negative. So I have negative 3 is less than or equal to n. Moving on, sorry. There's that problem. Number 7, all right, solving the system. So our goal here is to eliminate either x or y. In order to eliminate, they need to have the same coefficient, but one needs to be positive and one needs to be negative. So if I look at this, I can see that all I have to do is multiply this second one by 3, and then my x's will cancel. So I'm just going to rewrite this first one, and then multiply everything by 3 on the second one. All right, and then we add these together. So 3 plus negative 3 is going to be 0, so these cancel. This is negative 9y equals negative 54. We divide that out, and we get y equals 6. So now that I know that y equals 6, I'm going to go in and I'm going to plug that into any of the equations. Actually, I'm going to go up here to this equation. The reason I did that is because I don't want to deal with a negative in front of my x. I don't know. I just don't like negatives, so I'm not going to do that. So we have 3x plus 3. Instead of writing y, I'm going to write 6 equals 9. So then we're going to go through and solve this. And we get 3x equals negative 9. So then x equals negative 3. And we would write our answer as a coordinate point. So negative 3, 6 would be my solution. Also remember, guys, at any time, pause the video. You can stop. You can look at how I did some work. All right, the next one. This is a word problem that will definitely be on the exam, so make sure you understand how to do these. This is just like this problem here. The system, it's just in word problem form. So here we have some kids going on a field trip. So X is going to be the number of people on or in a van, and Y is going to be the number of people in a bus. Okay, so if I look at this, my first one that I have, so high school A has 14 vans, 9 buses, and 264 students. And then the second school has 7 vans, 8 buses, and 202 students. So I'm going to write these out as equation. So 14 times every person on the van plus 9 times every person on the bus equals 264. And then the other one is 7x plus 8y equals 202. All right, so I need to try to eliminate something. So if I look, my x is, if I just multiply this second one by -2, well, then I will have a -14. I can cancel the x's. So I'm going to rewrite the first equation and then multiply the second equation by -2. All right, and then here we add them. So -14 and 14 cancel. 9 plus -6y is going to be -7y. 264 plus -404 is going to give me -140. And then we divide this and we get y equals +20. So that means 20 people are on a bus. And now I'm going to use this and I'm going to plug it back into any of my equations. So I can go up here, I can go in this equation, or even this one that I multiplied. So I'm just going to go with this equation here. Again, it doesn't matter which one you do. So 7x plus 8 times 20 equals 202. So 7x, 8 times 20 is 160. Subtract 160 from both sides. And we have 7x equals 42. Divide that out and we get x equals 6. So 6 people in a van and 20 people on a bus. All right, solve by factoring. So factoring, open up 2 sets of parentheses. I'm looking for factors of 24 that add to give me 11. So 24, 1 times 24, 2 times 12, 3 times 8, 4 times 6. So add to give me 11 is going to be 8 and 3. Bigger number goes first. V goes in each one. The first sign comes straight down. The second sign is plus, so that means the 2 signs inside my parentheses have to match. So this is also minus. Now, this does say solve, so that's factored. Now I need to solve it, so I flip the signs. So V equals 8 and V equals 3. 10 is AC method. All right, so I'm going to multiply A times C, and that gives me 80. So I'm looking for factors of 80 that subtract to give me 11. So 1 times 80, 2 times 40, 4 times 20, 5 times 16. There it is. 2 sets of parentheses. Bigger number always goes first. First sign is going to come straight down. The second sign is minus. So that means that the 2 signs of my parentheses have to be opposite. So that needs to be minus. All right. And then we divide by our A value. Now, notice on this, neither one divide evenly. Sometimes we get one that divides evenly, but neither one of these do. So that's okay. Since we're solving, I'm just going to simplify these. So that would be 8 over 5. And this one would be 1/2. Now all I have to do is flip the sign. -8/5 and a +1/2. And those are my 2 solutions. All right, that's page 1. Go to the next video to get the